though I have a confession to make, because there has been a conversation going on the internet about the quintology and the games that you've been making. And I have to tell you that in spite of the progressing technology, my favorite games, like many people out there, are actually the first two games, which I keep playing over and over again. And I wonder, what would you tell to people like me that are still so deeply in love with those first two games, in comparison to the more modern ones?
I'm thrilled. Like if people are loving anything that we created, I can't have a bad note on that, right? And I know why people feel that way, to some regards, and then I think so I've gotten a lot of feedback. I mean, we had our problems rolling out of the gate because we weren't able to close all the bugs, and we didn't know everything was what was broken. So, we took some setbacks for that, but we've corrected that, but some people never had those problems. And a lot of those people I get a lot of stuff that's like, this is where I wanted Oddworld to go. This is where I wanted it to be. And then a lot of other people are like, I still liked Exoddus more. I'm like, well, I'm not going to argue with that, but those games were really designed to a limitation in technology and limitation to capabilities that we had. And one of the things we suffered on those first two games, they were notoriously hard, and we had to make a choice. They were either going to be notoriously hard or too easy. And the reason for that was technical. It wasn't out of desire. So what we were doing is we were playing back sprites so you're playing back an image like Flipbook, right? And that's how those old games worked. Well, that meant that they were solid state, meaning if a walk cycle was 17 frames, it was 17 frames. And if you made it 16 frames, no matter what, the TV's playing back at 30 frames per second. So if you made it at 16 frames, it was that much faster. If you made it at 18 frames, it was too slow. So it's like, shit, everything on timing was not analog and dynamic. It was very digital and fixed. And so when it came to difficulty, it was little decisions that would have huge weight, but like the speed of a paramite and how fast the screen would wipe. And if it was too fast, which meant it played a little bit better on the same screen, but it would kill you too soon on the second screen. There was all these gives and takes. And so they were just really hard to balance. And I wouldn't say we balanced them that well, because they were, in my opinion, they were too hard. When I go back and I watch people play those games and I watch new people play those games, I'm just like, oh God, this is terrible, because I don't know why they haven't thrown down the controller already, But so it's not the game you wanted to ship, it's the game you could ship. And what I always wanted to do was get more epic. And I mean that in like a film sense of epic. I wanted more distant shots and wanted more camera roving to really set things up. And the truth is, I wanted to do that with Stranger. Wanted to do that with Munch. And they had as projects, they had their own challenges, and those camera abilities didn't get there. But in Soulstorm, they got a lot closer to there. So some things, people liked or didn't like. But one of the things that some people really notice is they're like, the sense of scale, man, it's in the gameplay now. It's not just the movie, or it's not just the background.